Everyone has one or two secrets they'd rather keep hidden, and I'm no different. When I was younger, I was quite wild. Now, I'm a quiet and unassuming woman, but losing my parents at 15 sent me down a wrong path. I ended up joining a gang of troublemakers. I got some of the girls from the gang together and started our own group. Because my dad made me learn wrestling when I was a kid, I was known around town for being really strong, even stronger than the boys. My time in that world ended after I met someone special, but living that kind of life leaves some issues behind. My name is Nancy, and now I'm 35. I live as an ordinary housewife and work at a local supermarket. With my light makeup and quiet personality, no one would guess that I once wore bright makeup and rode motorcycles. Yes, I was in a gang and even led a group of girls. But then I met my husband Joshua and everything changed. It all began 10 years ago during a fight with another gang. They were always causing trouble whenever we met. One day, things got really intense. Joshua stepped in unexpectedly to help his brother, who was part of the other gang. As everyone was fighting and falling, Joshua and I were the only ones left standing. I even remember him laughing when he realized his brother wasn't even there. Despite the chaos, Joshua seemed really calm and composed. I couldn't help but notice. "Hey, you're pretty cool," I said to him. "Me? Really? Looking like this? You must have some strange tastes. Were you calling out for someone named Noah? Did you find him?" "No, it turns out my brother wasn't here." That's how our quiet chat began. Joshua's brother was a troublemaker beyond saving. Joshua even took up boxing to try and set him straight. He couldn't stand by and watch wrongdoing happen. He seemed like a guy full of fairness. As we talked more, we got closer. We started seeing each other more often, and it was clear we liked each other. But Joshua didn't like troublemakers back then. Even though we liked each other, my past in the gang held us back. Eventually, Joshua said he'd only be with me if I left the gang for good. Tired of all the pointless fights, I decided to leave the group. We started dating and got married 5 years later. The gang I used to be in got broken up by another group 2 years after I left. After marrying Joshua, I changed a lot and became a calm and graceful woman. But our peaceful life got shaken up by a certain neighbor, Joshua's sister Somia and her husband. One morning, as I was seeing Joshua off to work, the doorbell rang. Who could that be? I wondered. I'll check. Suddenly, Joshua looked surprised. "Somia," he exclaimed, recognizing his sister, whom I had met once at a family dinner. "Hey Joshua, we've moved in next door today. Please take care of us," she said. "Hello, I'm Tommy, Somia's husband. Looking forward to getting along," he added. They started off with a rude attitude, but since Sonia was Joshua's sister, I couldn't be too confrontational. We usually got along with our in-laws, so I didn't want to start any trouble. It turns out Tony was the one who got Joshua's brother Noah into the troublemaking world. They went to the same high school and were a year younger than Joshua. Joshua turned 34 this year, so they must be 33. Somia, who's 3 years younger than Joshua, should be 31. "Joshua, too bad about your brother, huh?" Tony remarked. "I don't care about Noah anymore. Even you." Joshua was visibly angry. His brother had passed away due to a fight. Joshua's brother and sister apparently never got along well. Somia felt ignored in favor of her brother and developed a rivalry, which eventually extended to Joshua as well. Joshua once mentioned how tough it was to deal with his sister, preferring to focus only on his brother. Unlike me, Sonia was also in a delinquent group before. Unlike her, Noah was forced into it by Tommy. Seeing his siblings change, Joshua probably felt even more determined about justice. As the three of them stared each other down, I spoke up from behind Joshua. "Joshua, you need to leave for work soon." "Oh right," he replied. "Running away, Joshua. Remember, I haven't forgotten that you laid hands on me," Somia sneered. "That was because you attacked Noah." "All right, both of you enough. We're done here," Somia declared. With Somia's words, Joshua left for work, the issue still unresolved. But then the harassment from Somia and her husband began. About an hour after Joshua left, the doorbell rang, but nobody was there when I checked. Another hour passed, and there was a loud noise at the door, like something was being thrown. When I looked, there was a pile of cardboard boxes dumped in front of our door. "What's going on?" I muttered to myself. Since nobody was around, I decided to ignore it and went back inside. But then I heard a small popping sound from the balcony. I rushed over and found 3 broken eggs. We live in a corner apartment next to Somia's new place. This means the harassment likely came from her apartment since there are no neighbors on one side, and it's too high for someone from below. Angry, I decided to confront my next-door neighbors. "Hey, is that you? What do you want, showing up like this?" Sonia greeted me, clearly irritated. "Is this your idea of a prank? Throwing eggs on our balcony? It had to be you or your husband. The angle only makes sense from your balcony." Sonia glared at me and said, "What? Don't be ridiculous. Do you have any proof that we did it? Making false accusations won't help. I'll call the cops." Even though she used to be in a gang, her quick resort to the police in this situation seemed odd to me. "I don't have proof, but the way the eggs are scattered, they could only come from your balcony." I tried to stay calm, but Sonia kept arguing back. "That's weak proof." "Hey Tony, the lady next door is complaining," she said to her husband. Hearing this, Tony chimed in. "Hey, just because you're Joshua's wife doesn't mean you'll get any special treatment." If Sonia's reliance on the police seems second-rate, Tony's words weren't much better. He might have thought he was intimidating, but to me, it was anything but scary. I could feel my old self stirring inside me, but I didn't want to go back to my past. So I acted like a timid, unassuming woman and said quietly, "Please don't raise your voice." Inside, I wanted to unleash a powerful kick to shut him up. But since meeting Joshua, I had changed for the better, and I didn't want to throw away all my progress over something like this. Seeing my reaction, they both laughed in front of me. "Aha, so you're Joshua's wife. I thought you'd be something special, but you're just a boring woman." "Weak. Tony was giving you too much credit. At the family dinner, you seemed like a real introvert. Just a kick won't be enough. I might have to dislocate a joint or two to calm myself down," I thought, trying to control my rising anger. "Go on, leave," they told me, and then closed the door on me. I stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling frustrated. I thought about telling Joshua, but I knew Sonia and her husband would just pretend they didn't know anything. It would only lead to more trouble and stress for me, so I decided not to bother. The next day, and the day after that, the harassment from Sonia and her husband continued. It always started after Joshua left for work. "Who left this garbage at our doorstep? It must be those two," I muttered as I was about to leave for work at the supermarket. The door got stuck halfway, blocked by a bag of garbage. I reluctantly took it to the disposal area and then headed to work. 5 hours later, I came home to something unbelievable. There was a cardboard box in front of the door, set up like a table. On either side of the box, there were lit candles, and in the middle, a vase with flowers. Above the door, there was a photo of me, taken who knows when, stuck there, mocking me as if I were dead. Furious, I was about to kick the cardboard away when Joshua called from behind. "Nancy." Startled, I turned around to find Joshua, who had come home from work. "You're an hour early." "I got off work early today. What's all this?" Joshua was also surprised at the sight in front of the door. We quickly cleaned up the cardboard and candles from the shared hallway and went inside. There, I told Joshua everything that had happened. "So it's likely Sonia and her husband, but we don't have any proof. Even if we confront them, they'll just deny it," I said. After a moment of thought, Joshua had an idea. "Let's buy cameras, one for the balcony and one for the entrance, especially hidden well at the entrance." I agreed with Joshua's suggestion. There was only so much more we could take. We immediately purchased cameras online and had them delivered to Joshua's workplace to avoid suspicion. For now, we'll just have to endure until the cameras arrive. Then we can fight back with evidence. "Got it," I replied, so I dealt with Sonia's mean behavior at her house for a few days. For many people, putting up with stuff like this means not fighting back because they're scared or not strong enough. But for me, it was different. I wanted to fight back, but I held myself back. If it was okay to use force, I would have already stood up to them. It was really frustrating having the power to do something but not being able to. After 3 days, Joshua brought home some cameras. Any more trouble? The usual. Today they even threw a fish head onto the balcony. "Let's put up the cameras now. We'll hide one behind the air conditioner on our balcony, aiming at Sonia's, and another near the fire extinguisher by the entrance." The next day after setting up the cameras, Sonia started being mean again. As Joshua left for work, I watched everything through a recording app. And just like clockwork, Sonia and her friends started their antics. I watched quietly and left for work when it was time. 2 hours into my shift at the supermarket, Sonia came to my register. Well, well, if it isn't my sister-in-law, she said. I quietly scanned Somia's items. It was obvious from her tone that she knew it was me, and she was being really rude. Aren't you cold for a cashier? Shouldn't you be nicer? Come on, give me a discount on this. Other customers in line looked worried as they watched us. A man in the line spoke up to Somia. Hey, can't you see she's uncomfortable? Somia turned to him, looking angry. Shut up, it's none of your business. The man seemed defeated by Somia's reaction and backed away, leaving the line. Then, I spoke up to Sonia for the first time. Ma'am, if you keep acting this way, I'll have to call security. I said it calmly but firmly. Maybe because others were watching, Sonia replied. Oh, it was just a joke. So disappointing. She left the store, leaving her items behind. The other customers were surprised by what happened. I was really mad when I got home from work. There was a note on the door that said, useless cashier. That's enough. I couldn't handle it anymore. I angrily tore off the note and waited nervously for Joshua to come back. When he got home, we watched the footage from the cameras. It clearly showed Somia and her husband doing bad things. Now we can fight back, Joshua said, looking angry. Okay, let's go. When we rang Somia's doorbell, Tommy answered. You two again. What do you want now? Somia came up behind him, asking lazily, What's up, Joshua? We're ready to fight back, I thought as I started to speak, but Joshua stopped me and stepped forward. Nancy, let me handle this. Somia told me if you keep bothering us, there will be consequences. Joshua's voice was firm and threatening. Tony replied, What, you want to fight? You got proof we did anything? You're just making accusations. Before Tony could finish, Joshua played the video from the recording app. This video shows what you've been doing wrong. We put up cameras because your harassment was too much. This made Sonia and Tony quiet, which was unusual for them. Sonia looked a bit worried and turned to Tony, while Tony glared back at us with a deep frown. You caught us this time, I said seriously. But remember, the trouble started from your side. Tony replied, So you want to solve this with a fight, huh? Hold on, Joshua, I'm calling someone. Call whoever you want. We'll be ready, Joshua said firmly, not backing down as things got more intense. Tommy urgently talked into the phone. William, I need help now. His tone was different from before, now begging for help. After hanging up, he turned back to us. Get ready. Willie, the toughest guy around here, is coming. He looked smug, thinking he'd win with someone else's help, but it showed he was really a coward. Why not face us yourself? I asked. Keep talking. I know your strength. This time, I brought someone special to make sure you both feel real fear, Tommy said, trying to scare us. 5 minutes later, William arrived, the guy Tommy had talked big about, but he looked surprised when he saw us. William, hey, it's been a while. Sonia and Tommy seemed excited, expecting a lot from him, but that excitement quickly faded. What's happening? Yeah, it's been a while, Will, I said, calling him Will, which left Sonia and Tommy puzzled. Joshua greeted him too. Hey Will, long time no see. The couple looked even more confused. Confused, Tommy asked, What's going on? How do you know William? Tommy looked nervous, and William looked between us. I just said, Will, let's not do this, okay? Angry, Tony snapped, Stop messing around. Will, do something please. Sonia and Tony were panicking, not understanding what was happening. But then Will spoke up. Hey, did you mess with Nancy? His question left them shocked for a moment. So what if we did? Tommy answered, sounding unsure. Will exploded, You idiots. Do you even know who you're dealing with? His scolding left them stunned. They clearly had no clue. Seeing this, I turned to Joshua and asked, Hey, can I go back to how I was 15 years ago, just for now? But instead of Joshua, it was Will who replied, Nancy, please don't. If you do something, it could get worse than just a fight. What, are you giving me orders now, Will? No, that's not what I meant, Will stuttered. Seeing the guy they called for help now apologizing to me, Sonia and Tony were confused. What's going on here? They looked scared as Will talked. Do you two know about BBN? Yeah, that's right. It's famous. It stands for Black Butterfly Nancy, right? The nickname of the former leader of a ladies' group. That's correct, and this lady here is Nancy herself. No way, really? Both of them lost their tough act instantly. Will continued. Back then, I led another group, but we got beat by Nancy's group. She could handle 30 people alone. Sonia and Tommy now looked at me with fear. It made sense. They thought they were picking on someone weaker, only to find out she was the leader of a group they used to be a part of. I didn't know Nancy was practically a legend. We joined the group 6 months after you left, Sonia said. They joined after I left. Will had been in the group with me and stayed even after I left, looking after Sonia and Tommy. He left just before a rival group took us down. By then, Tommy was the leader. Before you ruined it, the group was unbeatable. You can't mess with Nancy, was said. The group that took us down is now the strongest. But if Nancy was still around, she'd still be the strongest. Seeing Sonia and Tony crumble, Will turned to me and said, "Please forgive them for my sake." Watching Will apologize, Sonia and Tony seemed defeated. They never expected their call for help to go so wrong. "Fine, but you owe us," I said, glaring at them. They let out a small gasp. "For a month, you'll clean this apartment and our balcony since you made a mess. If you miss even one day, I won't be so nice next time." "Okay," Sonia agreed, clearly intimidated. Tommy just nodded vigorously, unable to speak. Watching them, Will remarked, "Nobody can really challenge Nancy." Hearing this, Joshua, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "But I don't like troublemakers. If Nancy hadn't changed, I wouldn't be here." He said it softly, and I looked up at him. "Don't worry, I won't let that side of me out again." At this, Will burst into laughter, and we all ended up laughing together. Will and Joshua knew each other because we met after I left the group. We ran into Will while on a date and ended up having tea together. Now that's settled. Why don't you join us for dinner, Will? The three of us left Sonia and Tommy slumped by the entrance and went to our apartment. Before going inside, Joshua added, "Sonia, you're my sister, so I'll let it go this time. But there won't be a next time." Watching him, I wondered if he too had that same fighting spirit as us. From that day on, Sonia and her husband stopped bothering us. They kept their promise and cleaned our balcony and the shared areas of the apartment. Even though they were just troublemakers doing chores, other residents stopped paying them much attention after a while. After a month, Sonia and her husband left without a word. Even Joshua, their family, didn't know where they went. Maybe they felt uncomfortable staying there. We didn't bother looking for them further and thought they made a wise decision. Finally, we had our peaceful life back. Neighborhood problems are common, but I never thought I'd be so involved. At least it ended well. I have a past I'd rather not talk about. Joshua has kept it secret all this time. I'm not ashamed of everything in my past, but I've learned from my mistakes. I just want to cherish my life with Joshua now, and I hope to never show my true self to anyone again. That's all I'm thinking about now.